and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Let's get ready to rumble!
This one by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the roof.
Montana looking, wrong in the end zone. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Little roller up along first. Behind the man. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight and the Mets win it.
Oh my gosh, this is crazy. There's too much stuff to get done during the beginning credits of that show.
You're having Saturday issues.
Oh my lord. Whew. I was like ripping through things and too much stuff to go on before. But anyway, this is Sports and Sorts with Shane and the Bry Man. My name is Shane Moore, and this is, Monday edition, and it is the 18th, 19th of the month? No,
19th.
19th. All right. He looked down at his calendar or something, and he figured it out real quick. And who are you? Who are you today? Who's my co-host here, buddy?
Today I'll be the Bry Man.
Today you're going to be the Bry Man. Excellent, because the Bry Man is best, and we will get into why he's the best a little bit later. Yes, welcome back to Sports and Sorts. We go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday mornings on YouTube. We take some of the best moments from those clips, too, from our show, and we take them and put them to clips and put them onto the YouTube channel as well for a little extra content for there. We also have some other things in the works currently to hopefully entertain you just a little bit more, to give you a little bit more entertainment on the YouTube side of things.
The More Entertainment Network.
No, that's not that anymore. That's
not a thing anymore.
No, it used to be. But you can also find this audio version only on iTunes, iHeartRadio, anywhere podcasts are played. And what we have on tap today is we're going to go over a few of the top games from yesterday, and of course talk about one of the biggest games of the year that's going on tonight in Monday Night Football. We're also got the Browns. Are they really looking to interview Condoleezza Rice as a head coach? And we also, of course, have some sorts today in shocking turn events. You know, Bill Maher, however you want to pronounce his name, said something crazy to get some attention, which is weird because that never happens. We also have a new trailer that Bry Man tagged me on this morning. And oh my lord, was it glorious. So we have all that today. We got a great show, so let's go.
You are listening to Sports and Sorts with Shane and the Bry Man.
All right, let's get into some football, baby. Quick recap of Monday Night Football. Sunday Night Football. I'm all over the place today. Sunday Night Football, Vikings versus Bears. And if you wanted to see a defensive matchup, this was the game for you. The one thing the Vikings have to be really asking themselves right now is, did they make the right decision with Kirk Cousins? Now, and I still think it's a little too early to make that decision, but they should start asking him that question. And he's had a really good season so far. I mean, he's completing 70% of his passes. That's highest of his career. He's thrown for almost 3,000 yards already, 19 touchdowns, 7 picks. But this offense just doesn't seem as dynamic as they did last year. And only 3 things have changed. Dalvin Cook is healthy, and he's playing right now. They added Kirk Cousins to the fold. And the one thing that I think is the most glaring thing that's out there is the most eye-opening thing is the loss of Shermer as their offensive coordinator. That's the only thing I can think of as that is the real missing piece. Yep. So I guess it's they either move on from where they are offensive coordinator? Are they just going to, keep riding this out, let the guy finally implement a system, get the kinks out this year and really focus on next year? But as of right now, something's got to be, because how on earth is this team with that defense, that quarterback, those offensive weapons, how are they 5-4-1?
It's the NFL. I mean, that's just the way it goes. You know what? You have to kind of, I don't want to say you give Kirk Cousins a pass. You can't give him a pass. But let's be honest. This is his first year with the Vikings in this system. And look, the funny part about the Vikings, when you looked at them last year, they were, what were they, 13-3 or 14-2 last year in the regular season? They were a juggernaut last year. And they should have been in the NFC Championship game. And I'm sorry, they were in the NFC Championship game. And you could argue, though, that they maybe could have been a Super Bowl team. But the weird part about the Vikings was that the one position you looked at them and said, well, we're close, but we need to be closer, is quarterback. And that's ironic when you consider that the team won that many games. When you win that many games and your only issue is quarterback, I'm not saying they should have kept Case Keenum. Kirk Cousins is clearly a better player. I'd rather have Kirk Cousins. I would have made that move too. But when you do make a transition at that position, when you're going from, one guy to another in the biggest position in sports, the most important and influential position in sports, I don't know that it matters necessarily. I mean, it's not, look, he's not Aaron Rodgers, he's not Tom Brady, he's not Ben Roethlisberger, he's not Drew Brees, he's not Russell Wilson. He's not one of those guys. He's in that next tier. So when you make a transition like that, I think no matter what, there's going to be a period where you have to kind of suffer some growing pains with him. Okay. And maybe that's what we're dealing with. Here's the other thing I want to point out about Kirk Cousins, too. In primetime, 4-12 in primetime games. Bad. Not good.
There's a couple quarterbacks that are kind of known for that, being in primetime games, and that's Kirk Cousins and Andy Dalton. Those two guys, and they're both kind of similar. Similar skills, yeah. They both have similar skills. All right, so that's pretty much it for covering yesterday's game. If you have any thoughts about that, post it in the comments, and we'll discuss it if we can. I know there's another topic that I want to talk about, and it's something I know that you love. You love Joe Flacco.
I do love me some Joe Flacco.
You've always loved Joe Flacco.
I got a thing for Joe Flacco, yeah. Well, I got some Flacco envy.
What do you think about Lamar Jackson's performance in Flacco's absence, and could this lead to a benching? Real quick for me, I mean, his performance, I think, was really, really good. I give him a thumbs up, but they can't continue to use Jackson like that if they do, because Flacco will be back behind center sooner than later because Jackson's going to get hurt. He ran him for 27 times, 117 yards rushing, but 27 times as a quarterback, you are going to get hurt. And he went 13 of 19, which is, fine percentage-wise, almost 70% passes completed, and 150 yards with one pick, no touchdowns. But they have to use him a different way. They have to use him more as a quarterback. Let him run. Like, you can use him as as a Cam Newton kind of play. I mean, he's not quite as big and large as him, but you can use him as a mobile quarterback like Deshaun Watson. Yep. But you can't have him run 27 times in a game.
Yeah. So for my first thought on Lamar Jackson's performance, very, very solid. Yeah. When he was allowed to throw, which didn't seem like that often when you consider that he ran 27 times and passed 19 times. So the balance for his performance was tilted towards running the ball. And of course, that's how they designed that. I mean, the Ravens aren't stupid. They knew they couldn't have him go out there and throw, 35 times. Mm-hmm. They would have lost the game if they had done that. But they did let him throw. And I'll tell you, he went 13 for 19. And yes, he had the pick, but on certain throws, he made some pretty big throws in some pretty big spots. The one thing I liked about him the most is when he was in that pocket and he felt that pocket closing around him and basically, falling apart around him. His ability to be shifty and elusive and get away from guys, it flashed that incredible speed that oh my God, is he fast? And this is why I wanted the Dolphins to draft him. I wanted Lamar Jackson like the worst way because I knew the Dolphins could have gotten him in a spot where they wouldn't have had to trade down to get him. In fact, they could have traded back and gotten him. But I loved his ability when he was in the pocket to sense it collapse, and then when it did collapse, able to get out of it. I mean, he avoided a sack, I think in the first quarter, and it might have been in the first or the second quarter, and he rolled out, and then he rolled out to his left, and he actually almost threw a pick on the play, but him getting out of that pocket was, I mean, absolutely stunning. It reminded me, but in a far more athletic way, of like when Eli looked like he was going to get sacked in the Super Bowl by the Patriots, got away and then threw the ball to Tyree. I mean, this was obviously nothing on that level, but his ability to just, I mean, he was swallowed by the pocket, and then next thing you know, he pops out of the pile, and he's like running to his left, and I'm like, how the heck did he get out of that?
Yeah.
Really incredible. Here's what I will say though, as far as benching Flacco, for him, no, you can't. And the reason why you can't is because now you have a massive cluster in the AFC where 4 or 5 teams, I think it's 5 teams, are actually 5-5, and they're all in line for that 6th playoff spot, and the Ravens are one of them, and the Ravens are leading it because of divisional matchups and records and stuff like that. They have that tiebreaker. You have to put Flacco back in. He is still your best chance to get to the playoffs this season. And the way the AFC looks as wide open as it does, you want to be in the playoffs this year, unless you're the Dolphins. There's no point. But honestly, if you're the Ravens with a defense like theirs, and a guy like Flacco who can win big games in the postseason, you need to put your best. You got to put your best foot forward. And if you're the Ravens, that means putting Joe Flacco back in. But does the future look bright with Lamar Jackson? I'd have to say yeah. Based on that performance, I'd have to say yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Ravens did lose to the Bengals early in the season with Flacco.
They did,
and they won without him. So I mean,
right.
I know, it's definitely a discussion to be there. I know you love Joe Flacco.
I understand, but if you're looking, you have to look at the long term here for this season,
the short long term.
The short long term for this season, which is get in the playoffs, and your best chance. I'm sorry, but your best chance of doing that is Joe Flacco. But Lamar Jackson, I mean, look, you can see why they drafted him. You can see why he makes Joe Flacco uncomfortable. I mean, hey, look, if this works, if this goes the way I hope it goes, John Harbaugh and Joe Flacco will both be Dolphins next year. So,
all right.
I have no problem with Lamar Jackson taking that team over. That's fine by me.
Okay. All right.
You are listening to the Sports and Swords podcast.
Now we're going to get into how it was leaked that the Browns were going to interview Condoleezza Rice,
Coach Condi,
for their head coach opening. Now, for me, this is really something that got blown out of proportion because the GM said that they had been discussing head coach options, and Condoleezza Rice was never discussed. And Condoleezza Rice came out and she went on, posted on, I think on Twitter and Facebook, I love my Browns and I know that they will hire an experienced coach to take us to the next level. On a more serious note, I do hope that the NFLs will start bringing women into the coaching profession as position coaches and eventually coordinators and head coaches. One doesn't have to play the game to understand it and motivate players, but experience counts. And it is time to develop a pool of experienced women coaches. By the way, I'm not ready to coach, but I would like to call a play or two next season if the Browns need ideas. And at no time will I call for a prevent defense. Now, Condoleezza Rice basically said, she said the right thing was, yeah, I'm not in the running. I won't be in the running, and they need to hire a head coach with experience. But
yes,
women need to start getting involved in this game more so that they can get the experience to be a head coach eventually in this sport. And she's not wrong. I mean, you don't need to have played this game to be a coach. You just need to be smart and tough. And I think
there's female referees in the game.
Yes,
so I mean, if you can put a female referee in that kind of an important position, then theoretically that should apply throughout the game.
And I think we both know a lot of women who are just that. I mean, that are smart and tough. I mean, they're all over the place. I mean, they're a heck of a lot smarter and a heck of a lot tougher than I am. I have two in this house. I have a daughter who's 5 years old who are smarter than I am. I mean, she could run the show. I mean, she can hit the buttons at the right time. I mess up all the time. And, to add in some serious football smarts, I really think it wouldn't be that difficult to find women that can do this. They are just as smart, if not smarter, and I don't understand it. It just takes a special person to understand football, and they can do it. So I just don't understand why it hasn't happened yet, really.
In my experience in the corporate world, not only are women smarter than men, but they're better leaders and they're more organized. I would love to see like a female football coach. I actually look forward to the day, and as a Spurs fan, this is something that makes me very proud. As you know, the Spurs have a female assistant coach in Becky Hammon. Mm-hmm. And I have a very strong feeling that when Pop retires, Becky Hammon will be first in line to take the reins. Mm-hmm. And I hope she gets the shot. Because if she doesn't get the shot with the Spurs, she's going to get it elsewhere. And I would like for the Spurs to retain her. Look, this is an ideology that, you know, whose time has come. I mean, the idea of women coaching in sports is real, and it's upon us. And I mean, look, I think the way the NFL is, and a lot of sports, because so many sports are analytical now, it does mean that you do not have to have played the game to understand it.
It's just and the whole thing playing the game is more of like a respect factor that all these football players need.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. It definitely helps. I can't say that it doesn't help. You'd be wrong to say that it doesn't help to have experience playing the sport if you're going to coach it. I think it can only help you. But is it a requirement? No, I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
I don't know how much it helps though.
I mean, honestly, like well, like if you take a look at, for instance, I mean, you could argue that the best coach in the league is McVay, right? Okay. Did he even play?
He might have played in college.
I mean, but I mean, like on the NFL level, I don't believe he did.
But I mean, like the only coach that has never played any football that actually was a head coach was Haley. He's the only coach. He's never played football ever.
Right.
And, know, and then you have all these other coaches that, they were, below average college players at best, but, they played the game, all the way, Pop Warner and all that kind of stuff, all the way through. They played the game. But I don't think it's necessary. I think that if you know how to coach and you understand the sport, you can do it. It's just, it's the players that have an issue with having the coach not.
I think as a head coach, you could probably get away with that more than you could as a coordinator.
Right.
I think the coordinators, because they are, again, that's a more specific level. You're really drilled down very deeply into each side of the football. Mm-hmm. As a head coach, you need to, it's like a 30,000 foot view. I mean, you have to be aware of things that are going on all over the field, but you're also a leader and a motivator.
Yeah.
And that's kind of maybe that's a little bit of an old school thinking too, because nowadays it's hard to lead and motivate millionaires who kind of don't care if they have guaranteed money. It's very different. Like back in the Bill Parcells era, Bill Parcells was maybe the greatest leader and motivator. Him and Lombardi in the history of football. Yeah. It's a different game now though, because now you're massaging the egos of millionaires, and it's a different time. But I still believe that, and maybe it's not. I mean, look, when I first read that story,
football now too, though. I mean, that's
there are
too. I mean, there's a high school quarterback who, is I think in Hawaii that's playing right now. She got some notoriety after she had gotten hurt, and Drew Brees reached out to her and talked to her for a little bit. It's a really heartwarming video. But there are more females playing the game, but I just don't think it's necessary. I think it's more of an ego thing that the guys have to get over.
Kathy Ireland was a kicker for Texas State.
Necessary reference?
Necessary roughness. Just one of my favorite little guilty pleasure movies.
Yeah. That's a good movie.
It was. It was fun.
All right. Let's move on. I want to give a quick shout out. Happy birthday to a friend of mine, a friend of the show, Ronnie. He had a birthday, I believe it was yesterday, and his Lions beat the Panthers on his birthday, so that had to be a great present for him. It was a great present for me, so I'm sure he loved every second of it too. So happy birthday, bro!
Happy birthday!
Yeah, happy birthday to Ronnie. But now let's get into the game that you really wanted to talk about today, which is let's get into the Steelers versus the Jags game. The Brian Mann's pick that narrowly came through.
Yes,
which is
very
also
narrowly.
This is where I threw my hands in the air and said, I lose to a last-second field goal, and you win on a last-second rushing touchdown by Big Ben.
Yeah.
It's your year, man. You have picked 73% of the games right. I am sitting
Wow, is that what I'm up to?
Yes, I'm sitting at 53%. Wow. This is absolutely outrageous. That's
madness.
Absolutely outrageous.
Yeah.
I know that this guy lost, but Jalen Ramsey is good. He is so
he's
good.
Really
he
good.
held Antonio Brown to his lowest catch percentage of the year. I believe, Ramsey had 8 tackles yesterday, 2 picks, 3 deflections. That's Neon Deion Sanders stuff. He was
from Florida State, and he's got the mouth.
I mean, except he wouldn't
quite
really
the resume yet, but
Neon Deion wouldn't have had that many tackles in a game. But
no. Yeah, Jalen Ramsey's physical. He's a physical guy too.
Physical, both verbally. And...
You know what's funny? I saw a story on somewhere this morning that said the Jaguars are likely to trade him in the offseason. I can't say that I understand that. Yes, he's a loudmouth, but that is yes, you have a point.
Last Condoleezza Rice,
What's
my
that?
wife, one of the smarter women in this house, one of the people that is smarter in this house than I am. Men were the gynecologists for decades, and they haven't experienced having a vagina.
It's a good point.
It's a very good.
It's true. It's true. It's fair.
Touche. And that's why she's smarter than I am.
Yep.
All right, go ahead. Go to your Steelers Jags.
I got distracted. I heard vagina. Now I'm not. Where do I go from here? Oh, right, the Steelers and the Jags. Yeah, so the Jags are saying they're going to put him on the block, which to me is nuts. I mean, he's a young guy. He's a cornerstone of your defense. Why would you trade him? He's not the problem. I mean, yeah, he's a loudmouth, but maybe you want to improve that quarterback position a little bit. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if Blake Bortles is the answer. Jalen Ramsey is the least of your problems, I think, on that team. But I'll tell you, what a game. That was a really fun game to watch. Jags looked like the Jags of last year. They got up big. They got up 16-0. This game looked like it was in the bag. I mean, obviously, you can't count the Steelers out because of their offense, because of how quickly they can strike. But if you saw the flow of that game, Ben looked awful. He was throwing picks left and right. He was they were getting to him. It looked to me like the Jags, and Leonard Fournette was having a relatively pretty good game until they started stuffing him in the fourth quarter because
that
the Steelers
Superman touchdown that he did, holy cow! Where he jumped over it, it looked like he kept on flying higher and higher.
Yeah. He elevated. Yes, it was unreal. But look, again, you can't count the Steelers out, but the way that they were playing. I remember thinking oh man, I'm gonna lose this pick. I thought this one was gonna be a pretty easy one too. I figured the Steelers would go in and take care of business there, and that is not how it happened. But what an unbelievable end to the game. Well, actually, it was great because it was 16-13, and I remember just thinking, I just want to see the Steelers get the ball back, just to see them have a chance, because it's fun. I have no stake in that game whatsoever. I could not have cared less how it ended, but. Other than, saying I picked the Steelers and hoping I'd pick up a win, but I didn't really care about that. I just wanted to see a fun finish, and man, was that a fun finish. And you thought, actually, right at the very end, that the Steelers had lost because it looked like Ben had thrown a pick in the end zone, and it turns out you had a face mask, and then Ben ends up scoring the winning the winning touchdown, running into the end zone, just getting across the plane to the goal line there, and really just a fun win. And I'll tell you, Mike Tomlin was not on the hot seat, in my opinion, in any way, shape, or form. His team was 6-2-1 going into this. Now they're 7-2-1. But he reacted. He reacted to a big win like a coach who was on the hot seat. Mm-hmm. He was fired up for that. He was pumping his fist. Even like 5 minutes
after game press conference.
But even 5 minutes after the game, he was still pumping his fist. It was kind of funny. They showed one shot of him where there was nobody around him, and I think he was looking for people to celebrate with, and he was just pumping his fists again.
Get over here! I need a high five.
He requested the highest of fives, and nobody was there for him. But I'll tell you, that is a big win for the Steelers. It's your first win in what is now officially the post Le'Veon Bell era, and you had to grind it out. And you know what? Look, the Jags, as bad as they have been this year, we know they still have a good defense, and we know what they are capable of if they can put it all together. And the Jags had it all going yesterday, and the Steelers found a way to gut out and grind out a big win on the road. They're 7-2-1, completely in control of the division, and they are in the discussion. They're in it. The Chiefs are going to make it hard, but the Steelers are without a doubt in the race for the 1 seed. But they have the 2 seed on lock, but they are in control of their own destiny, and they have a chance to secure a bye week and a home game.
Yeah. The one thing I want to say is Le'Veon Bell's skill set was missed yesterday because Connor had 2 huge drops yesterday.
Yeah, he had that one
for a touchdown,
one, which could have ended the game.
That was it right there. Yeah.
They're lucky they won. Lucky they won because yes, he would have. You're right, and that gets a little bit forgotten.
Yeah, I was actually picking up my son's skis at Action Sports in Old Saybrook. We were picking up his skis for the season. Because we got rental skis and all that kind of stuff to get them ready to go. And we're picking them up, and I'm watching the game on their TV there.
Yeah.
And that is where I was like, you got to be kidding me. I got to see, this is ridiculous. The Bryman's winning last-second plays out of nowhere. This interception doesn't actually happen. What the hell? Oh, my God. I can't believe this. That's just going through my mind at this. Like, I can't catch up. It's just his year. It's his year. He's got it. It's his year.
It's the only way it's my year. I suck at fantasy football this year. Well, in one league I'm in first place. The other 2 leagues I'm bad.
It's been a rough year. A rough year for picking games for me this year. All right, let's move on to the next one, which is the last little bit of NFL for the day, and that is tonight's big game: the Chiefs versus the Rams. Who you got?
I'm struggling with this game so mightily because the Chiefs are on the incline, and the Rams are not declining by any stretch. It just looks like they're starting to show cracks. The defense is starting to look like it's slowing down, like they can't really stop anybody. And the bottom line is, yes, this game was originally supposed to be in Mexico City, and now because the NFL sucks at what they do, the game is now back in LA. In the Coliseum, and the problem for the Rams is the Coliseum is really not a great home field advantage for them. Any team with a well-traveled fan base can go, and there are still tickets available for this game. That's understandable because, first of all, the stadium holds 100,000 people, and second of all, the game was supposed to be played there to begin with. So, this one is really, really tough for me. My gut says the Rams are going to win this game because it's a home game, but then my head is saying, the Chiefs, the way they're playing right now, they are clicking on all cylinders. The only bump that they've hit in the road was in New England, and nobody goes into New England and wins anyway. And they almost won that game, and they scored 40 points and almost won that game, and probably should have won that game. The Chiefs should be 9-0. The Chiefs don't play great defense. This is not, if you're looking for a defensive battle, this is not your game. Turn it off. Turn it off and go watch something else. I'm literally going back and forth on it right now, but I'm going to go with the Chiefs on the road in this one. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I just don't see a lot of defense. Both of these teams are going to be able to move the ball very well on each other. With any luck whatsoever, this will be a Super Bowl preview. And I say that because then that means I'm going against my own prediction of Rams-Patriots in the Super Bowl. So with any luck, this would be a Super Bowl preview, and maybe it'll be a really great game. But I like the Chiefs on the road in an absolute barn burner. I'm going to go 38-36.
Whoa, that's
Chiefs.
A really close game.
Yeah, really close. There's just going to be a lot of points. You're not going to see a lot of punts in this game. If you like punting, don't watch the game. If that's your thing.
That's what the NFL should sell this game as.
If you don't,
that would be funny. Punting,
don't watch.
You shouldn't watch this game. Right. If you like punting, don't.
If you like punting, don't watch this game. If you're a fan,
of the punters,
if you're a fan of
the name of any of the punters,
if you're a fan of average 46-yard punts and lots of hang time, don't watch this game. It's not going to be it's not your thing.
Inside,
so
the
10, will not be your forte.
Yeah.
Right. If you want to watch teams getting pinned, it's just this ain't the thing. There's going to be a lot of balls in the air, but it ain't going to be from punts.
You really get all fired up when that ball, he kicks it, and it goes out of bounds right at the 2-yard line.
Right. It takes that kicker's hop and just kind of squibs out of bounds right at like the 3. And, you're all like, punters.
That's the stuff right there. That's the stuff. So I had said on Saturday, I'd kind of touched on this game because things were all crazy over there then too. I had said before that if this was at the beginning of the season, I would have taken the Rams. Rams had just as good of an offense, and they had what looked to be a better defense, but the Chiefs have been playing better and better, particularly on defense lately because, they're getting a little healthier. The Rams just have not been clicking on offense like they were last year. They're putting up 30 points a game, but, the games are just so much closer this year because their defense has just been bad. And I expect Kareem Hunt to have a huge game this game because a lot of teams have been running wild on the Rams. I expect Tyreek Hill to have a big game because Marcus Peters doesn't seem to be able to cover anybody anymore. I don't know if it's a lower leg injury or whatever's going on, but there's something that's not right in that secondary, and teams have been taking advantage of that, and he's the fastest receiver in the game. So I don't think they have much home field advantage, even though they're moving back to home. I don't think it's going to help much. No. So I feel like the Chiefs are going to win this game 38-31. I think, with the Rams, it's always been within a touchdown. And I feel like if you're going to be within a touchdown against this team, against this Chiefs team that can score on anybody at any point in time, that you need to have a bigger gap, a bigger wide of margin for error, just in case, because the Chiefs are so dynamic on offense. They are just as dynamic off you, if not more dynamic, because they have an elite tight end in addition to Sammy Watkins, who's likely going to play tonight. And they also have Tyreek Hill, and then they have Kareem Hunt, who is just a smidge worse than Todd Gurley. And when you're talking a smidge worse than Todd Gurley, you're talking like a 98 to a 99.
I would
it's very close.
I was going to actually argue that because I was going to say this is kind of like one of those anything you can do, I can do better games. Like if you compare, we've got Goff. Well, we got Mahomes.
Yeah.
Well, we have Gurley. Well, we have Hunt.
Yeah.
Oh, we got Brandon Cooks. We got Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
And we have Travis Kelce. You don't have that.
Yeah. We have Sammy Watkins.
I will tell you though. It's funny because you say Gurley being a smidge better than I see it the other way around. I think Hunt is a smidge better.
Really?
Than Gurley. Yeah, I do. I mean, look.
I'd like to see what other people think about that.
If you're talking like fantasy, I mean, it might tilt a little bit more towards Gurley, but from a sheer talent, physical specimen, physical abilities perspective, I would start a team running back wise. I would start a team with Kareem Hunt.
Well, Kareem Hunt's younger too, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah, I mean
he is. But
I think as of right now,
he is. But they're both in their primes, though. I mean, these are guys who are at the top of their games, though. I mean.
I still think I've always been in love with Gurley. I mean, Gurley is just.
Oh, I like Gurley too. It's hard. I mean, how could you not like him? But
he's tremendous. He's been my favorite run in the back of the game for.
I just think Kareem Hunt has the makings of an all-time, like maybe a top 3 running back of all time when all is said and done. If it depending on how it all plays out, health. Longevity. That's the other thing in the NFL too with running backs is in order to even get in that discussion, you have to have longevity.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So let's get on to. We only have a few minutes left, but let's get on to some. Let's see if we can do it.
Where do you think you're going? I'm going to sort it out.
We're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but Bill Maher made some dumb comments about Stan Lee recently. Do you want to talk about this? You wanted to, you would sent me all this stuff. You sent me the articles that were out there. I read them and I just kind of rolled my eyes constantly because it seemed like he was trying to get attention to for himself. And this was a way to do it after somebody iconic like that died. Like wow, what?
I feel like Bill Maher lost a bet. Or like somebody dared him, like everybody's out there showing love to Stan Lee. Maybe you should just be the one idiot who doesn't.
Yeah.
Maybe just be that guy. Be that guy, Bill. You're always that guy anyway.
Yeah.
Why not just be him one more time? And right on cue, Bill Maher stepped right up to that challenge and said, "Hey, hold my beer. Watch me be a complete ass clown." I mean, come on. Look. I know very, very towards the end, like, I think it was even within the last year, the only thing negative I had ever heard about Stan Lee had something to do, there was some story, I don't even remember it to be honest, but I think there might have been a Me Too related story with him.
Yeah.
And I don't recall the details of that. I have to look closely at that. I thought when I first heard that Bill Maher was criticizing him, I thought that's what it was going to be about.
Right.
And it turns out Bill Maher just said, "Oh, well, Stan Lee died.
Americans are dumb for reading comics."
Basically, that's it. That's essentially what they said. And there is a great deal, I think, in my opinion, there's a great deal of irony here in Bill Maher coming out about this. First and foremost, the guy actually starred. It had a scene in Iron Man 3 that, although it was cut,
that might be a little salt in the wound right there. Maybe
he didn't want to be cut from that. But they did a story with him talking about, War Machine. Mm-hmm. There was he was doing like a Bill Maher-esque kind of news report. So that's kind of ironic. The guy was actually in a Stan Lee Iron Man movie, got his scene cut, he still rips the guy posthumously. And then, I think, even to a lesser extent, look, Bill Maher owns a stake in the Mets, which might explain a lot of things, by the way. But he owns a stake in the Mets. What do the Mets do? The Mets play baseball. What is baseball? Baseball is a children's game. It's a game for young people. I mean, yes, sports is a business, and a lot of
mental capacity too.
All
those analytics and everything.
A lot of these grown men play baseball, but let's be honest, baseball is a kid's game. Mm-hmm. So, in essence, you own a stake in a sports team, a baseball team that is a kid's game. So, I see a lot of irony here in Bill Maher going after a guy like Stan Lee, and really, and it was just look. Bill Maher is not one of those kind of guys either he's probably not going to retract this.
Oh no.
If anything, he'll just double down or he'll ignore it like a coward. Yeah. But he's not gonna, he's not gonna do. Bill Maher, look, I've never liked Bill Maher. I've always hated him. And partially that has to do with me being a Republican. Mm-hmm. But I don't care about him ripping Trump. We all do that. That's just good fun.
He did find a way to loosely take the comic book thing into ripping Trump.
Mm-hmm. Which to me was like a real stretch too. Like, if you want to rip Trump there's like a million other things you could get Trump for. Yeah. You're gonna like drag him into the Stan Lee conversation? Don't do that. That's just ridiculous. Not because I want him to lay off of Trump. Who cares?
Right.
Just because it just didn't fit. Those were like two puzzle pieces that just didn't even remotely fit. But Bill Maher, I've never been a fan of his. I think he's just kind of more of an ass clown than anything else. He uses that podium that he has, and he spews his BS, and he gets away with a lot of it. And I don't know. He obviously has a big enough of a following, but you would have been very hard pressed in these past couple days to find anybody who agreed with anything that Bill Maher said about Stan Lee. Just shut up. Be respectful. I mean, be respectful of the dead too. I mean, a guy who had a really unbelievable, amazing career, created a lot of characters that so many people, grown men, women, and children love. Why do you have to be a dick just because it's like part of your shtick? I mean, he could have just said nothing. That would have been fine. I don't know. I just didn't understand. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the Bill Maher, him weighing in on the death of Stan Lee. It just didn't make any sense to me.
I agree. All right, let's move on to something a little bit more light, a little more fun. Deadpool, PG-13 edition. Once Upon a Deadpool comes out, and there's a trailer for it. I'm going to play the audio, and the audio is just so good.
It's great.
And if you had watched the trailer, you're going to laugh along with this. If you haven't, please go watch the trailer. It is great.
Right before Christmas, a good guy in red.
It's only a minute long.
Is coming to theaters with his new sidekick, Fred.
Fred Savage.
Why am I here?
You're in a PG-13 version of Deadpool. Filtered through the prism of childlike innocence.
I'm a grown
And nobody
man.
does childlike innocence like you, Fred. Nobody. I need you almost as much as you need me.
I don't need you at all.
You need me to untie you once we're done.
I loved your working up.
I'm sorry?
Don't get too attached.
Once Upon a Deadpool.
Kind of prefer Marvel movies. We are Marvel.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you're, Marvel licensed by Fox. It's like if the Beatles were produced by Nickelback. It's music, but it sucks.
You were nicer as a kid. Rated PG-13. Limited engagement in theaters December 12th.
Oh, man.
So to wrap a little context around some of the things that you couldn't see there visually if you're just if for the audio only audience is that it's the Princess Bride setup.
Yeah,
so Fred Savage Fred Savage is back in the what appears to be the same bed he was in when he was being read the Princess Bride by Peter Falk, right? Yes. So, except it's Deadpool with like the Deadpool book. Yeah. And then there's that scene where he's like, yeah, you're not really going to be able to move because he's got his legs duct taped to the bed. And then the scene where he's like, I loved your working up. There's like two old people on a bench. 2 old people, one of them's holding balloons. And then he says to the guy, don't get too attached. Cause they're both old. That's great. And she's gonna die soon. It was so great. It was so great. And then Fred Savage almost kind of stole the show there from, especially with the whole Nickelback and the Beatles thing. My God.
He's actually pretty funny. He's got good comedic timing. He is
good.
Shows here and there. He's got some good timing.
He's an American institution.
Yeah,
he's a national treasure for us.
He's been on
Fred
some
Savage.
serious stuff. Yeah, I mean for sure.
We have you and I like
brother. His brother too.
Well, what's funny is for guys like you and me, especially guys our age, we have really grown up with him. I mean, the Wonder Years. I mean, that was. I'm sure you watched that show growing up. I did. I was tuned into that show. I mean, and Princess Bride. I mean, a guy who's kind of always been there in the background for people our age. Yeah. There's a movie too there's one of my guilty pleasure movies that I love that he's in, and he's got a kind of a cool little role in it called. I'm sure you've seen this movie, Welcome to Mooseport. I think we've talked about it before.
I don't know if I have.
On the show.
Maybe
that's him, Ray Romano, Gene Hackman. Mm-hmm. So Gene Hackman, the basic premise is that Gene Hackman was the president of the United States, a 2-term president, very popular, had a nickname, the Eagle, all that, and he moves back to after his presidency is over. He moves back to the town of Mooseport, which I think, I don't know if it was Maine or whatever, something like that, somewhere like deep in the woods or whatever, right? And, he gets back to town and, Ray Romano is there. He's like this handyman guy. That's, I think they call him like the handyman. He's like a hardware store owner. Mm-hmm. And, but anyways, he gets back to Mooseport, President Gene Hackman, and he decides he still has like the itch for politics, so he just wants to run for mayor of Mooseport. Right. And Ray Romano decides to run up against him. And Fred Savage was basically, I think, he was essentially like the chief of staff or something, but he's still part of the team that handles the former president. Yeah. I mean, obviously he has his security detail, and then Fred Savage is his advisor, his number one guy, And Fred Savage has a kind of a fun little role in that movie, but man, oh man, that trailer was just so great. Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, it's phenomenal. Anything with Ryan Reynolds. As soon as that was over, I was just like, Ryan Reynolds, anything that he's in, I'm in. That's just it. That's just how it goes. That's how it goes from here on out.
Yeah, and I
just love the day. I
was kind of on the fence as to whether or not I even wanted to see this.
I want to see it more than anything.
I want to see it very badly. Yeah. And now I'm almost wondering, could I take my kids?
Yeah, you have to screen that first.
I think I need to screen it first because I don't know to what level PG-13 is. I definitely wouldn't take my youngest daughter, but maybe my 12-year-old.
So there's not going to be any human blood, and then there's also not going to be there's only one F-bomb.
Oh, okay.
But what's that going to be? That's what that means. Any more than one F-bomb, they can't make a PG-13. So,
well, my daughters have all heard that word. So
how?
How not?
Fred Savage is also in a good show. Me and my wife were watching it for a little while. I think it's on Netflix. It's Friends from College, and he's on that, and he's with Keegan-Michael Key's in that too, and they're good friends. And it's a really good show. Yeah, it's
Savage and Keegan-Michael Key together.
The girl, I can't remember. She was from that really popular show with the girl from American Pie and. I can't remember their names. It's a really popular show. How I Met Your Mother.
Oh,
the main girl, the brunette.
Yeah,
I don't remember what her name is off the top of my head, but she was.
Not Kobe Smulders.
Yes, she's in it.
Oh, okay.
She's in it too. And yeah, it's got a really good group. And it's not super funny all the time, but the funny moments are really funny. But it does have to take some dramatic turns. So it's it's good. It's a good show. All right, so now let's move on to last little segment here, which is the Bryman, who is going to be tackling Survivor Series. And if I can find it, I'll play it for you. So
well, let me tell you something, brother.
There you go. There's your little
Thank
preview.
you. Yeah, that's a good intro. So Survivor Series was last night. One of the original big four of WWE pay-per-views. Kind of gets lost in the shuffle because now there's like 13 of them. You distract me with Real American. Can't do that. Throw me off my game. I need to know when these things are coming. So I just want to start singing. Yeah, but the Survivor Series was last night. One of the big four. So the way Survivor Series has what it's become over the last few years is the SmackDown versus Raw thing. So they pit the brands against each other. Every match is one person or one team from one brand versus one person or a team from the other brand. Last night, there were a lot of last-minute changes to this pay-per-view, some due to injury, some due to unexpected title changes. The kind of the main event was Daniel Bryan, who was the WWE champion because he just beat AJ Styles on SmackDown earlier in the week on Tuesday night. So that was unexpected because originally it was supposed to be AJ Styles against Brock Lesnar. And it actually turned into like a really great match. I mean, in the beginning, Brock Lesnar was like kind of tossing him around like a rag doll. And then Daniel Bryan hit a low blow, and the match really kind of started to go in his favor then. But it was a match that was a little bit longer than you would have thought. And they're really trying to Brock Lesnar did ultimately win, but they're trying to sort of present this new iteration of Daniel Bryan, not only as a heel, but as just like it's a very, very interesting, creepy part of his personality seems to be coming out. It's sort of hard to explain. You would have had to have kind of seen the way he's acted the last week or so to kind of really understand. But so that match was the main event, which wasn't bad. Overall, though, I gave the show a 5 out of 10. Ugh. Yeah, not great. There were moments. It had certain moments. I would say the best moment was Charlotte Flair basically snapping during her match with Ronda Rousey. And again, that was another match that changed as a result of injury because Becky Lynch, who is the WWE SmackDown Women's Champion, was supposed to face Ronda Rousey, who is the Raw Women's Champion. But on Monday night, when SmackDown invaded Raw, Nia Jax absolutely clocked Becky Lynch and literally broke her face, broke her nose, and concussed her. And so Becky Lynch was not medically cleared to be part of the pay-per-view last night, so she actually hand-picked Charlotte Flair to step in her place. The match between Charlotte and Ronda was really good, and then Charlotte snapped kind of towards the end of the match. There was a kendo stick under the ring. She pulled it out, and she beat the crap out of Ronda Rousey with the kendo stick. And then really went on like a heel turn. Just was beating her up all over. I mean, got a chair involved, smacking her with the chair, beating her with the kendo stick, and like Ronda Rousey, so when you get hit with a kendo stick, it leaves these like marks on you, like all over the place. I mean, Ronda Rousey was beat up last night. She looked like she just lost a fight to Holly Holm, but it was with a kendo stick and not with fists and feet. But very interesting. You really are starting to see like a couple of interesting character personality turns, But other than that, this was to me kind of a forgettable and ridiculous pay-per-view. Raw swept. They won 6-0. So SmackDown got no wins with the exception of a pre-show. They have like a kickoff show, which is before the pay-per-view actually starts. It starts at like 6:30 and then the show starts at 7. On that show, the SmackDown team won, but they didn't actually count that as a win. They only counted ones that were on the actual Survivor Series show. So it was 6-0. Raw won. Raw swept. And like, the big thing about Raw and SmackDown is you always have Raw saying, well, we're the A show and SmackDown is the B show. And you basically just proved that. Like, you really just lended a lot of credence to that. even though, in my opinion, there's maybe arguably some better talent on SmackDown. Mm-hmm. To me, the most compelling characters are actually on SmackDown. So I just thought it was kind of weird that they did that. Like, to me, I feel like, I mean, if you want to have one team win like 4-2, that's fine. But like, to me, they should be close, like 3-3, 4-2. Instead, I mean, 6-0. You really are just kind of feeding into that theory that SmackDown really is the B show. I mean, I'm sure there's a storyline here that we'll all get to, and the other thing too was like Shane McMahon, who is Vince McMahon's son, he's just getting way too much in-ring time lately. I mean, you could say that about his entire career. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a tough guy. I mean, he is. He's one of those guys who's willing to do anything that the wrestlers are willing to do. But there's just no need for him to be in the ring as often as he is and as high profile as he has often been. So they need to really phase him out of in-ring action. It just doesn't do any good for anybody. So overall, I give the show a 5 out of 10. If you missed it, don't worry about it. Maybe just fast forward to like the Charlotte Ronda Rousey match and maybe to the Daniel Bryan Brock Lesnar match if you want. Other than that, you didn't miss much.
Channel Mac out. All right, well, if you have listened to the show, watch the show, however you took it in to your face hole or your ear holes, you can follow us on YouTube, where we have, you just type in Sports and Sorts in the thing, and Sports & Sorts in the search bar, and you'll find us. Or you can go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/Shane and the Bry Man. We post it on there. You can find our YouTube channel there, everything like that. You can hit me up on Twitter at Einhorn
You can find me on Twitter at _Bry_man.
The show is at Shane and Bryman, and as I said before, follow us on YouTube and help us out. Help us grow. Subscribe to our channel. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, share it, all that kind of stuff. We really appreciate it. Other than that, we hope you had a good time watching the show. We'll be back again on Wednesday, and the shows are going to be getting shorter. They're getting shorter. We're condensing them. So,
yes.
But we're still going to have the clips and all that kind of stuff. We're going to keep pushing everything on YouTube, and then more content to come. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. Remember the word of the day today from Shane's wife, vagina. Stay classy, Planet Globe. You can edit that out. At least it was at the end. You do what you got to do.
I just posted her comment again. It's a very relevant comment. Works really well.
It did.
Yeah, it shows why. I mean, I couldn't even say how she's smarter than me. That's how much smarter she is than I am. I was like, she's smarter than me. Smarty smarts.
Wait, your wife?
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously smarter than me.
She's a pediatrician.
She's very smart.
You're talking to me on a Monday morning at 11 o'clock.
She was smarter than me when she was like in 5th grade than I am right now.
Yeah, that's probably true. I'm not going to argue with that. I mean, if you're looking for an argument, you came to the wrong place. What is this music that we're listening to, by the way? What is this? Is this Nickelback?
You got a problem with
that? I don't know. They do take a lot of crap.
They do.
I'm not sure it's all justified.
Maybe that should be a podcast.
They make a lot of bros happy.